Grigori Yefimovich. Rasputin was a self-proclaimed holy man who became famous for his supposed ability to heal the sick and wounded. He also attracted attention through his supposed anti-aging abilities. His followers believed that he had miraculous powers. His detractors believed he was a charlatan. Either way, he would go down in history as the man who wouldn't die. On December 1916, Grigori Rasputin attended a party hosted by Russian nobles. It was said that he drank heavily at the party, even more than usual. He danced with several women, including the wife of a prominent general. And then, in the middle of the night, he suddenly left the party. He never returned. In the morning, Rasputin was found dead in the frozen Neva River, according to those who found him. His clothes were torn and muddy, suggesting he had been dragged through the mud before being thrown into the river. Someone had beat him about the head and face, leaving his nose broken and his eyes blank. His skin was already black and covered with blisters, signs that his body was beginning to decay. But when they pulled him out of the water, it was clear that Rasputin wasn't dead. He was still breathing. When doctors examined the corpse, they found that he had no pulse, but he was still alive. They massaged his heart in an attempt to restart it. They tried artificial respiration, but their efforts were in vain. Rasputin's body was handed over to his family for burial, but even in death, he didn't stay buried. According to one version of events, after Rasputin's body was placed in the coffin, his brother noticed that his chest was rising and falling. Another version claims that witnesses heard Rasputin screaming for help from inside the coffin. In any case, when the family opened the coffin, they found that he was still alive. His face was bruised and bloodied, but he was breathing and conscious. This time, Rasputin's brother shot him twice in the head, killing him instantly. Even in death, Rasputin's body did not behave normally. When his sister tried to dress the corpse, she found that his clothes no longer fit. Apparently, Rasputin's body began to bloat almost immediately after being shot. That night, they buried Rasputin in a shallow grave. But the following morning, curious locals dug up his corpse and mutilated it. They cut off his genitals and scattered them around his grave, then burned his body beyond recognition. Despite all this, some people still believe that Rasputin wasn't killed that night, that he somehow managed to escape the grave and flee into the Siberian wilderness. What makes Rasputin's story unique is that there are so many different versions of what happened to him, so many legends surrounding his death, that it's difficult to separate fact from fiction. We don't know exactly how he died, if he died, or why he has endured in the public consciousness for over 100 years. Rasputin was born in poverty in 1869 in a small village in Siberia. As a young man, he married and had children, but he abandoned them in favor of a life of debauchery and crime. According to rumors, he robbed travelers, stole horses, and served as an accessory in several murders. In 1893, Rasputin converted to Russian Orthodoxy and became a wandering monk. He spent several years traveling the country, living among hermits and acquiring knowledge of healing herbs and secret spiritual practices. By 1903, he had established himself as a holy man, a man with miraculous healing powers. His first big success came when he cured Vera Zasuli, the wife of a wealthy landowner. Vera was dying from a rare blood disease. Her family took her to see the best doctors in Russia, but none of them could help her. Then her mother heard about Rasputin and brought her daughter to see him. After blessing Vera with holy water and reciting an ancient prayer, Rasputin cured her instantly. Word spread quickly about the holy man who could cure any illness, and soon Rasputin was receiving hundreds of patients every day. To accommodate everyone, he built a small monastery near the city of Yekaterinburg. Over time, his monastery grew into a large complex with its own school, hospital, and church. Rasputin attracted a large following, including several members of the Romanov family. While Rasputin was a respected religious figure, he also developed a reputation as a womanizer and a heavy drinker. During his travels, he frequently visited taverns and brothels and engaged in wild orgies with prostitutes and peasant girls. This made him unpopular with other members of the clergy, who accused him of hypocrisy and debauchery. But Rasputin cared little what others thought of him. He continued to live however he pleased, using his influence with the Romanovs to protect him from his enemies. By 1915, Rasputin had become a national hero in Russia. He was famous throughout the country for his supposed healing powers. But like everything else about this man, we can't be sure whether he actually had any kind of power or whether his cures were nothing more than placebos. As the son of a peasant, Rasputin shouldn't have been able to do much of anything, let alone win over Russia's most powerful family. However, according to rumors, he was summoned to the Winter Palace in St. Petersburg in 1905 after it was reported that Alexei, the son of the future king Nicholas II, had a rare blood disease similar to the one that had killed Vera's. Nicholas and his wife Alexandra were desperate to save their son, and they reached out to Rasputin for help. Legend says that when Rasputin saw the boy, he instantly knew how to cure him. He embraced Alexis, blessed him with holy water, and then gave him a piece of bread and wine. Immediately, Alexis's fever broke and he began to recover. Over the next few weeks, Rasputin visited the royal family several times. Each time he cured Alexis, Nicholas and Alexandra were more impressed by the mysterious monk. They invited him to live in the palace and consult with them on all matters related to their son's health. Soon, he became one of their closest advisors. While most people saw Rasputin as a miracle worker, the king's sister, Grand Duchess Elizabeth, was suspicious of him. She warned her brother that Rasputin was a dangerous man who wanted only power and wealth. But Nicholas wouldn't listen. He trusted Rasputin completely. Unfortunately, this trust would lead to disaster. In 1914, World War I began. As fighting raged across Europe, millions of soldiers and civilians died. Russia's leaders desperately needed a victory to boost morale, but the German army was too strong. Russians kept losing battle after battle. Soon, rumors began to spread that someone was poisoning the Tsar's mind against the generals. That someone was Grigori Rasputin. He convinced Nicholas to replace competent military leaders with incompetent yes-men who advanced his own interests. With each passing month, Russia's position in the war grew worse and worse. Eventually, the people of Russia grew tired of the lies and deception coming from their leaders. They blamed Rasputin for their country's defeat and demanded that Nicholas arrest him. At first, the Tsar hesitated. He couldn't bear the thought of imprisoning a man who had saved his son's life, but eventually he agreed. In 1916, Rasputin was arrested and sent to prison in Yekaterinburg. However, he never made it to his destination. On the train ride, he escaped with the help of loyal followers. From there, he fled to the countryside and lived in hiding. It was here that Rasputin learned of Nicholas's plan to kill him. The Tsar had hired a group of men to assassinate the monk. But Rasputin was too clever for them. He managed to evade his pursuers again and again. Then came the fateful night at the nobles' party. Rasputin drank heavily and danced with the women, humiliating them with obscene gestures. In the middle of the night, he slipped out unnoticed and made his way to the riverbank. Here, he took off his clothes and prepared to swim. Suddenly, two guards emerged from the darkness and grabbed him. They dragged him away from the river, then beat him and threw him into the water. All the while, Rasputin pleaded for mercy, but his pleas fell on deaf ears. The guards wanted him dead. They pushed rocks into the water to make sure he drowned, then left him to die. But Rasputin survived. Somehow he managed to crawl onto the bank, where he lay for days, bleeding and barely conscious. When the townspeople discovered him, they dragged him back to the river and shot him in the head. But even this didn't kill him. Rasputin survived for another 3 days, during which time he was mutilated and burned. Eventually, his body gave out and he died. We may never know what really happened to Rasputin. There are so many conflicting accounts of his death that it's impossible to separate fact from fiction. But one thing is certain, the story of the mad monk will live on in legend for centuries to come. Now it's time to hear from you. What do you think happened to Rasputin? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And as always, thanks for watching.